Gather round, pull up a chair. It's story time. Let's talk about what was an absolutely insane day yesterday. Look, it wasn't a surprise the A's were going to eventually announce Sacramento on Thursday. I'd already caught wind of it Tuesday night. Carmichael David put it out Wednesday. We knew this was going to happen. But the way it happened was pretty wild. We'll get to that in just a second and how awkward some of the interactions were during and after that press conference in Sacramento. But first, let's just talk terms. As things come out, it appears that Sacramento, Vivek Ranadive, I should say, gave the A's Sutter Health Park with no rent and no guarantees of expansion of any kind. He told me Rob Manfred said that he would be looking to bring a team back to California once the A's go to Las Vegas. That's about all the assurances he got. Vivek Ranadive did what he thought was in the best interest of Sacramento. He said he didn't want to play second fiddle to anyone. He shouldn't have to. If he believes Sac is a pro sports market, more power to him. But in doing so, he undercut the city of Oakland's offer to a point in which they had no choice but to go to Sac. It was an opportunistic thing to do, but it did shiv another NorCal city. Oakland's offer. Late into Tuesday, they negotiated it down. They'd initially asked the A's for $97 million to extend the lease. They dropped that price to as low as $60 million. Essentially, they were going to pay $20 million a year for however many years they needed to stay at the Coliseum. But they did want a guarantee of expansion. That was the whole key. Oakland wasn't going to get played for a fool. Any deal they made needed to come with assurances from MLB. What they were offered in Sacramento was no assurances of expansion and even no rent. The A's will have to fix up the stadium there to make it ready for Major League Baseball. Now on to the press conference day. This is where things get really interesting, and it was very calculated. At 7:45 a.m., they put out that they were going to announce this thing at 10 a.m. in Sacramento. 7:45. That gives Bay Area media practically no time to assemble, plan, and get out there. I grabbed the black suit, jumped in my car, and headed straight for the ballpark. I didn't even have any of my things. I didn't eat, I didn't have food, I had nothing. I didn't even have any of my normal gear. I literally threw on my suit, headed right out the door. I made it with 15 minutes to spare. My camera crew didn't even make it till after the press conference was halfway underway from San Francisco. They did this so that the Bay Area media could not get there and ask questions. They also scheduled this for when the A's were on the road. The A's are not in town, so there's no accountability here in the Bay Area. The Bay Area media essentially was cut out of this press conference. I raced there, I got there in time, and shout out to our friends in Sacramento, ABC 10, Matt George. He helped me shoot all the interviews I did. So the press conference happened. It was interesting. It was a very gloomy day in Sac. Fittingly. I even heard thunder. I saw lightning later. The whole vibe was just right. As the presser started, rain was coming down, wind was howling, mics weren't working.
I'm just so excited, I can hardly contain myself.
John, we're making this challenging on you. Is that better?
They turn it on, we turn it on.
Oh, the wind calmed down just as I got up there.
Vivek came on stage, fired everybody up, said the right things. John Fisher came on stage. Regrettably, he couldn't name a single A's player, opting to talk about Aaron Judge hitting homers in Sutter Health Park for some reason.
Be able to watch some of the greatest players in baseball, whether they be athletics players or Aaron Judge and others.
And then, shortly after the politicians did their thing, the press conference just abruptly ended. So the first thing I did was run straight up to the A's and John Fisher, made a beeline right over there. I said, "You guys are answering questions today, right?" And they said, "Yeah, absolutely, we're answering questions. We're going to go over there. We'll set something up for you." I was like, "Great, thank you." I see Vivek start talking. So I run over, I get in that scrum, because I think there's very important questions that weren't answered in this hype press conference. Here's my exchange with Vivek. You can hear I'm the one asking all the tough questions and pushing back.
Are you going to be able to share any of the terms? Because I know the negotiations had to have been pretty intense to pull this together.
Well, actually, the negotiations were not that intense. John and I are friends, and so they will be here for 3 years, and then they have an option on another year. It was actually a fairly straightforward deal.
You said Sacramento's not going to play second fiddle to any other market. I already see the signage. I already see they're not putting Sacramento on the team name. what assurances do you have that Major League Baseball is going to possibly expand here or let you keep this team if Las Vegas doesn't go through?
Yeah, so I've been in touch with the commissioner and I've gotten to know him, Rob Manfred, and they will be creating a new team. They want it to be on the West Coast. They'd love for it to be in California. And I think this is a great showcase for us. We can prove that there's a market here. We can make the team successful. I think we're in pole position to get the new franchise.
Pole position's nice, but is there any assurances at all, or is this just something he said he would be willing to entertain? I mean, is there any type of guarantees for this? Because in negotiating this, you're driving down the price in another market. You're taking a team here, so what is in it for you to do this?
Yeah, no, there's no guarantee. You know, we have to show what we can do, and I have complete confidence that if we set our mind to something, this is an incredible city. We have the best fans in the world. And at the end of the day, the best fans in the world will make it happen.
So by the time we wrapped up with Vivek, I went back to where I was trying to find John Fisher. I was told he's gone. He left. He didn't answer a single question from anybody. When Vivek started talking, everyone gathered around him. Fisher used that opportunity to make his exit. Now, on a day where you're announcing a new home, a new market, even a temporary one at that, this is huge. This is a major day in the history of a legacy baseball organization. The owner can't answer a single question. He ran out of there before anyone could catch up to him. I don't know what that says. It's just shameful. Now, I will credit the A's. I will credit Dave Kaval. I'm sure you guys will get mad at me for saying that. But they invited me up to a suite and said, go ahead, ask him anything you want. Dave and I spoke for a long time. I talked to him off the record. I talked to him on the record. We had a very long, exclusive conversation. I didn't think he gave a lot of answers or information, but I do give him credit for standing in there at least. John could have done that. He could have done that. I'm a professional person. I'm not a mean person. They know that. You got to be able to answer questions. You got to be able to be the face of your own franchise. He said himself it was important to him. He's not doing it. It's a dereliction of duty.
Will there be more transparency? Will the team turn replies on? Will you engage with fans again? Will you talk to the people?
I think we're focused on putting forward a fun fan experience in our last year, and we look forward to doing that with all our fans. I think it's going to be very positive, and you know that is something we want to do, and it's going to take time. You know, it's a long season, and this is only one day, and like I said, a bittersweet day, but at least there's some finality and direction so people know. I think that is important, Casey, in terms of getting to the next place.
Yeah, but that didn't necessarily answer that question. I'll give you one more here because I know we have to go. But what's happening to the A's employees? I know that I've heard that there's going to have to be severance packages. There's going to have to be reductions in staff. You're going to rely on the River Cats and the Kings, I would assume, for front office help. What happens to those people? How hard is it to deliver that message? I'm sure you were the one that probably had to deliver it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there is going to be a reduction in force as part of this. You know, the extent of that is not determined yet.
So as rain and winds whipped through Sutter Health Park, I raced off to ABC 10. Hanging out in their offices, it was really cool being in a new station I've never been to before, where I went through all this material, the press conference, the interviews with Vivek, with Kaval, with all these people, and I just tried to cobble together the best I could a story. And then I had to race back and be live at 3 p.m., 4 p.m., 5 p.m., 6 p.m. So it's really hard to process everything that happened yesterday. I mean, this has been a long time coming and a crazy long saga. And there's still 4 more years to go in the best case scenario for the A's if they're ever going to get that ballpark built. But to me, it was just a heartbreaking, somber, crazy, crazy day that didn't have to be as crazy as it was. It was just a lot to process. Now, I want to say this one thing, and I think this is an important thing to note. I put it out yesterday on social media because I started seeing some of the comments. Sutter Health Park is a beautiful ballpark, man. When I was the A's insider for NBC Sports California, I used to spend a lot of time there. They didn't want to pay for me to go on the road as their beat writer. So I would just go to SAC and spend time with the top prospects on the A's. That's where I got to know guys like Sean Doolittle, Dan Straley, Michael Taylor. I became friends with them before they even got to the big leagues. Some of the guys I met were in the big leagues a week later, like Doolittle, who just flew through the system. One of my favorite stories covering the A's of all time was actually at Sutter Health Park. It was then called Raley Field. I was in the back. I was actually A's insider for the TV homes. They'd let me go everywhere back there when they wouldn't let the other media back there. I was standing in a hallway one time, and Manny Ramirez just came out of nowhere and just wrapped me and Chris Biederman up in a big bear hug. We didn't even meet the guy before. He just started jostling us around. It was hilarious. It's a beautiful, beautiful park. Some of my favorite memories covering the A's are there. Some of my favorite interviews took place there with guys that have never even done interviews before. They do have to upgrade the facilities. They do have a plan for that. That's also a thing that the A's are going to be responsible for. They recently upgraded those facilities. They're going to have to upgrade them more if John Fisher's favorite baseball player, Aaron Judge, is coming to town. I just think it's a tough pill to swallow for Sacramento. It's a tough pill to swallow for a market that just had to go through this in saving the Kings. To have their own owner who saved the Kings in their market shiv another city and take a team away from them. I just think it's very unfortunate. I think the people of Oakland deserve better. I think the people of Sacramento deserve better. I think the people of Sacramento deserve some assurances from Major League Baseball that if they show up to a minor league park to see a basically minor league team, and if they don't show up in droves, they're going to be judged by that. The lowest payroll in baseball, probably the worst record in baseball, no stars. If Sacramento fans don't eat that up, they will not be considered a major league town. It's a lot of unfair pressure to put on a market that I think is a big league city, that I think is a pro sports city. You see how they support the Kings. So I'll leave you with this last thought. I don't want to see A's fans in Oakland sniping at A's fans in Sac. Everyone processes this differently. This is not the fault of the fans. This has never been the fault of the Oakland fans. And what happened is not going to be and will never be the fault of the Sacramento fans. They didn't do this. John Fisher was backed into a corner. He had nowhere to go. He had to get a deal done. Major League Baseball was all over him about the 2025 schedule. He had no home for his own team after this season. It's a mess of his own creation. He did this to himself. But his buddy in Sacramento, his friend, as Vivek keeps pointing out, bailed him out. Gave him a sweetheart deal. Saved the day. The problem is, in doing that, he gave John Fisher a path straight to Las Vegas. The only thing Sacramento is going to be is a pit stop on the way to Las Vegas. He made sure that's going to happen. So, don't blame the fans. Don't blame the people. Billionaire is going to billionaire. And we'll keep going. 4 more years, right? Until shovels are in the ground on a new stadium, we're going to keep talking. Don't forget to like and subscribe.